I guess I should probably get things started. I mean, enough watching Dukes of Hazzard. I mean, you never go wrong. Can anybody hear me okay and see me okay and see the screen okay? There's an actual slideshow presentation because it's me. I'm going to screw something up. Welcome. How are we all doing this morning? Thumbs up, thumbs down, kind of in the middle. Nice.
It's still morning?
Yeah, for me.
What happened?
I don't know. The day just got away from me. I just keep it at morning all the time. So I kind of figured we'd move back into movement analysis again this week. So I kind of put together some videos that we can watch together and kind of go through more of, kind of categorizing how we put things into motion, how we address certain issues, kind of going down to determining the root cause of why things are happening, and then maybe start working into the prescription phase of, some drills or tasks that we could use with our clients to help them all. We've got at least one new face on tonight. And I haven't heard actually much from Matthew a little bit too. So I'm going to call you out, I think, a little more today, if you don't mind. And maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself as we get started. So Matthew, would you tell me again where you're from and your background?
I am from 49 degrees north with Ali. And I've been instructing for 4 years now.
Now, are you primarily on the 2-stick side, or are you a single planker?
I've single planked for 14 years and double planked for a couple days.
Nice. And then we'll just roll down. Ali, would you do just a quick blurb or two about yourself and your journey to here?
Yeah, it started a long time ago in college when I wanted to ski and couldn't afford a pass, and then started teaching skiing and then started teaching snowboarding, and now I'm the director at 49 and I'm going for my snowboard level 2 because I'm done through all the skiing stuff.
You're bored with it. I understand. I mean, it's what happens. We'll just move on down the row. Thanks for joining, Ali. Thanks for joining, Matthew. I'm so excited. Brian, a quick blurb about yourself.
Yeah, I'm Brian. I've been up on T-line with Tracy, I think for a couple years now. Relatively new to the sport. I think I've only been single planking it for, what is this, like my 3rd or 4th year, I think, in total. So just kind of soaking things in like a sponge.
Nice. And then how about Donald, my friend? How are you?
Donald, I'm doing good. I've been teaching at Timberline 3rd season now. And I started as a 2-planker as a kid when I was 8 and learned 1 plank as a teen and picked that in my 20s, forgot about the mountain for like 10 years and then rediscovered it a while ago and just loved it, and it brought me into teaching. Through Big Mike pulled me in, actually.
Nice. And then last but not least, I'm sure we'll have some more joining kind of in the middle, but Charlotte Harris, tell me a bit about yourself.
I am Charlotte, or Narlet, and I just recently moved from the Summit at Snoqualmie in Washington to join the Hooligans at Timberline. And I have been snowboarding for 21 years, teaching for 16, and have been a staff trainer now for going on 6 seasons, since you guys insist on making me train again. And yeah, I'm just here to party. So
awesome. Hooligans, I represent that. Once again, I'm Tracy, Timberline Technical Director in charge of trial training, and let's get this party started. So if you guys kind of look at the presentation, you can kind of see movement analysis night. What I really want to focus on tonight is how we kind of categorize what we see in our students. Their efficiencies, their inefficiencies, and then kind of start moving into, okay, what I see 4 or 5 different things going down. What will have the greatest impact? Let's order them in like greatest impact to maybe least on their skiing or riding. And then, like I said, what order of operations do we address or put on these inefficiencies? And then what things that we see in our students that we can be remedied with either equipment adjustment or perhaps even a replacement with a different type of board or skis, length, or just something with newer technology. And what movement patterns or movements that we can adjust with our clients and kind of within our allotted time frame. You know, if you've got a client for 2 hours, or if you've got a returning client, or perhaps somebody you have all day, those are things that you kind of take into account. Okay, I can address these. And then kind of talking about how we analyze the movements using, you know, the 3 different kind of ways of doing MA, either from the tool up, head down from top to bottom, or the core out, starting at the center of mass and moving up and down the whole picture. So keep those things in mind as we're watching. I got 4 videos prepared. We'll see if we can get through all of them. I split it up half, 50-50 with alpiners versus snowboarders. So I want you guys to please chime in as much as possible. I want to do less talking this time because talking sucks. So here we go. We'll start with this person. Why does it keep stopping? Sorry. So this is actually over at Mount Hood Meadows in Jubal. Some of you might have been there before. And of course, we've got a skier days. One fun thing, I like having both skiers and snowboarders, you know, looking at the different disciplines. You can see that, you know, it's all pretty much the same stuff. It's just a different way of thinking about how the movements can correlate to the performance on the tool. All right, let's start with, someone chime in. Start with something good. What do you see as an efficient movement on this skier?
Tracy, it's kind of hard to hear you with music.
Oh, is it? Okay, let me crank that down. I was trying to find that sweet spot. Evidently, it went too far. So
Okay, cool.
what movements do you see that are actually efficient with this skier?
He's keeping them parallel.
He's keeping them mostly parallel. He is diverging, but he is trying to keep them parallel. He is doing a pole swing with every turn.
Is that good or bad?
For this terrain, that's good.
Nice, so efficient. Anybody else see any good efficiencies? I'm a glasses too small kind of person, so I like to find the positive things versus the glasses half empty kind of person where you always focus on negatives. Donald, what do you see? You're a smart guy.
His center of mass is rotating along with the edge of the axis. I mean, of the snow tool. Like it's not separated out, which looks like it would be efficient in this case.
Now we're thinking about dynamic skiing and riding. Is he riding dynamically? Or skiing dynamically, I should say.
Is dynamic defined the same as on a snowboard where the upper and lower body are separated in different paths?
Do you see a lot of upper and lower body separation with the direction down the fall line or the direction of the tool? I don't see a lot of separation. They're pretty much, his chest is always kind of facing the direction of his tool. And from what I understand is with, you know, a steeper pitch like this, and just like on a snowboard, which I'm more familiar with, is we want to see like the board and body taking dissimilar paths down the fall line. So I might categorize this one as being a little more inefficient for what he's trying to do.
I would agree with you, Tracy. The center of mass is not directly over the feet, but that's because he's inclinating rather than angulating.
Okay, so we've got mostly parallel as an efficient movement. We've got pole usage, which is efficient for what he's doing. And maybe we'll move into the inefficiency of him, you know, for this terrain. I think he'd be more successful if he was able to kind of add that upper and lower body separation. Would you all kind of agree with that with thumbs up or a high five or a big smile that I can't see? Okay, so let's move in then. Let's kind of move down the row just for the sake of kind of time and moving forward. Like I see him also being kind of far in the back seat doing what you call what poop turns or what do you call those again, Allie? Dump turns?
Toilet turns?
Toilet turns, thank you, yeah. Would you say he's kind of far in the back seat?
I would say that he is not pressuring the front of the ski.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that too. So
I feel like he's trying to push his shoulders forward, but his butt is not following.
Okay. So I got two inefficiencies so far, the upper and lower body separation and his dump turns or his toilet turns, not being able to pressure the front of the ski. So we'll just stick with that for now. That's a great starting point. So looking at him, do you see any equipment issues or can maybe visualize if there's an issue with his equipment that might be making this a little more difficult for him that we could address?
It wouldn't be bad to figure out if he actually can flex his boots. If he's not in like something like a 140 race boot and it's his third year skiing and he actually can't flex his ankles.
Because contrary to popular belief, even though you're in ski boots, you can flex your ankle joint.
You should be able to, yeah.
I totally love it. So we could have some really stiff boots, or we could be having, you know, it's kind of hard to see the tools, but you know, are his tools kind of, what's the camber profile do you think that's on this tool? Is it a rocker ski? Is there much of a radius to it, a side cut? I know these are kind of hard to see just in this video, but could the tool be making this a bit more inefficient for him? Now, is he guiding the ski through the turns, or is he kind of unweighting or kind of hopping and landing on the skis? I see Ali with the heads up. I like that. Same thing with snowboarders. You kind of see this, you know, up unweighting hop move with people. And so I'd like to see him actually steer his skis more. So I would classify that as maybe inefficient. Okay. So now we've got three. The dump turns where he's in the back seat, not pressuring the front of his ski. The upper and lower body separation. If he's trying to, this terrain to me, of course, we don't know what he's asked to do, but this, if he's riding the terrain, I would want him to be riding dynamically, so that way he can, you know, maintain his speed with his turn shape versus this braking maneuver he's doing on each turn at the end of each end of the shaping phase of each turn. And then, of course, not scaring the ski. What do you think of just those three? And I'm going to go through everybody, Matt, all the way down to Charlotte. Of those three, the dump turns, the upper lower body separation, and the not steering the skis, what do you classify as possibly the greatest impact you could have if you were to address something with this student? And we'll start with Ali, because you are more of a skier than I think anybody here, and you have no problem jumping in, so I love it. I'm going to ask you, what do you think of those three as your most, like, on the top of the list?
What were the three again?
The three is, hey, he's got his dump turns. He's not on the front of the ski. He is not using upper and lower body separation to ski dynamically. And he's not really steering the ski, which might also kind of go into that dump turny thing.
In the order of priority, he needs to pressure the front of the ski. Then he needs to alter his turn shape, and then he needs to develop upper lower body separation.
Okay. I like. Charlotte, in your opinion, and by the way, everyone can have a differing opinion. Of those three, the not being able to steer the ski with using the front half of the ski, not using the upper lower body separation, and being more in the back of the ski, what do you would classify as something you'd want to address first with this person? Do you agree with Ali? You totally can too.
One thing I'm thinking is, because the snow is pretty deep there, I wonder if he's in the back seat to stay on top of it. And that's just making assumptions on the snowboard and the skis kind of working the same. So my first thought would be to get him pressuring the front of his boot. But I wonder if the condition of the snow is affecting that. I definitely want to see him steer the ski better, and then that would probably help separate the upper and lower body, because it feels like he has to use his whole body right now to steer the ski, which we know isn't true to happen. So I would say steering the ski first, and not sure. I would like to see what that does before I correct the in the backseat problem, just because I don't know if it's the snow or not.
Cool. So I love that. Your number one would be working on trying to get that client to steer the ski. Brian, your turn. What do you think would be, of the upper lower body separation, the not steering the ski, and kind of being being in the back seat? What to you, in your mind, is like the most important you'd want to correct first?
I'd probably address the toilet turns.
Okay.
I'm just, if it's the same with snowboarding, if we're intimidated and we shift our weight back to avoid danger. That's kind of a fundamental thing that I want to clean up so that everything else can be addressed as that confidence is established.
Cool. So I want you three to remember, we're going to stop there. What is your primary one? Okay, Ali, you got yours. You remember what it was? This is my open-ended question to check for understanding. Yeah. Charlotte, you got yours, number one. And then Brian, you got yours. And by the way, you know, I don't expect perfection if it's not your dedicated tool. I just want you to think about it. If you could, Ali, what prescription would you recommend to this student? What would you work on with this student? A drill, perhaps outside of this terrain, somewhere else on the slope?
I would lift up the tips of his skis and have him push them down as a static maneuver. I'd also have him lift his toes up to the top of his boots, which causes the anterior tibialis to flex and the ankle joint to flex. That would give him a feel for how to recover when he gets back. He's not going fast enough to float on top of the snow, even if he was leaning back or centered over the ski. So he's going to sink regardless, so he should be centered over his tool.
Cool. That's a fun little thing, is pulling up the toes using the actual boot, you know, pressuring the boot, pulling the toes up, using that ankle joint, getting ourselves kind of in the front of the ski. It's funny how where things always stem from. So you see ankle flexion as an issue.
Correct.
Love it. Cool. Down the line, Charlotte, with yours, which was it? What again?
Turning the ski.
Sweet. Is there something that you can think of? I know, like I said, your primary tool of destruction is a snowboard, but is there anything that you might think you could do with this client? You know, some drill, some fun thing that would address that primary?
I think taking to a terrain where you can see the track in your snow and the difference of your turn, like right there in the snow, doing some type of funnel drill where they start really wide and get smaller with each turn and then get wide again. And then they can kind of see the difference between what their shape look like in a large radius turn versus a small radius turn.
Cool. I think that's a great idea as well. Actually taking him off this terrain where he's not afraid, where the tool can actually maybe, you know, engage the snow a little differently. Maybe he will then start moving into that correct positioning that we want. That's awesome. Brian, yours, remember what yours was again?
Yeah, weight in the back, toilet turns.
To you, what do you think is the root cause of him sitting in the back seat? And then maybe do you have something that you could work with this client somewhere? Like I said, once again, I know your primary tool is a snowboard, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's all assumption. I don't know the rider or the skier. It doesn't look like it's his first day. So I could potentially assume that maybe he's over-terrained, or maybe he doesn't quite understand the instructions that have been given. So I just use this as an opportunity just to kind of see the skier's skill set, start something simple and static, pull him off this terrain, get him in a static exercise, just shifting weight forward and aft, and just kind of see if he can actually make the movements. Once that looks good, or we've gone over anything that needs to be cleaned up, move that to a simple 4.5 movement on a nicely pitched groomer. And then once that's looking good and he's feeling confident there, maybe return to this terrain and just focus on that simple movement first.
Awesome. Right. I believe he feels he's over-terrained and he's just reacting to the snow versus acting to it. As far as what is your opinion on and let's pick a joint or a muscle group specific. What do you think is the root cause of him being in the back seat of his skis? What thing is he not possibly doing in his skiing? And I'll open this up to anybody. Well, I'm gonna go back to Allie because she's our skier in the group. What do you think the root cause of this is? And I think you know.
His feet are getting ahead of his center of his mass, which means his ankles are open.
Copy. So he needs to flex his ankle more. Does that sound familiar to everybody and some sort of everything? Awesome. Cool. I'm going to be so in agreement with that. Lack of front ankle flexion causing him to be in the back seat of his ski, which then allows him not to be able to drive his skis and actually use the tools accordingly. And then from there, moving to the upper and lower body separation because he doesn't feel like he can do that because he can't bend his ankles yet. Cool. Let's move on to a snowboarder from here. I thank you for playing with a different tool. That was bad. Once again, categorization, efficiencies versus inefficiencies. What will have the greatest impact on a skiing or riding? What order of operations do we want to put on the inefficiencies? What can be remedied with the equipment adjustment or replacement? What movements or patterns can be adjusted? And then let's think of ways of how we analyze the movements, either tool up, head down, or core out. So here is another video of another person looking on a snowboard. I'll turn the volume down. I know, dude. There's like stuff left. I know. I'm gonna steal some sausage. Okay, let's do it. Neat. Sounds good. Cool. You too, buddy. See you. Okay, can everybody see our skier? Or excuse me, our our snowboarder. Sorry, wrong video. Okay. We see this wonderful lady. She's trying to do a slide on the box. Is she trying to do a lip slide or a board slide? Does anybody else can answer that one?
I'm gonna guess front side lip slide.
Correct. She was attempting to do a front side lip slide. She was more straight on approach than an urban on approach, but it was still a more front side versus backside. I'll agree with that. So we'll use that as that is her desired outcome. Let's think of what we see as an efficient movement. What do we see positive about this? And I have to include her slow motion where she pops her head off. It's just too cute.
I think that her approach and pop are really good.
Nice. Approach, perfect. The ATML, I like that.
Approach and takeoff, that's what it is.
There's a determination. So where there was a lack of confidence and an over terrain, I think in the last person, there's a plan in place as she approaches.
I will agree. She always had some tenacity, that one. Anybody else see positive things?
Right up till the end with the balance slip, the front foot stayed like it was pretty darn flat for how much she was kind of having a non-counter rotated move.
Awesome. But what about inefficiencies? What do we see that's an inefficient movement during this maneuver? So here's her approach, here's her takeoff, and then landing.
Her timing is off.
Looks
Timing?
like she isn't rotated enough, and she's looking behind her instead of in front.
So when you mean rotated enough, we talking upper and lower body separation?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like she had a lot of that.
Cool. I will agree. Lack of appropriate upper and lower body separation.
And then she
Pretty-
stopped looking for her landing.
Where she's looking. Any other inefficiencies we could see?
In her approach, when she's getting low before the pop, she's pretty broken over at the waist, and not stacked as centrally in the board right when she's getting low.
What joint specifically, Donald, do you see? Sorry, Don, you're muted again.
Oh. Pretty much entirely like hip flexion and not a lot of ankle flexion right there. There's like a mid amount of knee, a lot of hip, and no ankle.
Her joints aren't matching. She's overflexed at the hips. Cool. Let's use that. Overflexed at the hips. So there's 4. Timing, lack of appropriate upper and lower body separation, lack of looking in the proper direction, and then overflexed at the hips. We could go farther, but we won't. We'll stop there. So there's 4 of them. Let's start with Matthew then. In your opinion, in your mind, of those 4, the timing, lack of upper and lower body separation, the inability to look in the correct direction of travel, and then being overflexed at the hips. What in your mind is probably the #1 thing you'd want to repair or tweak on this lovely snowboarder?
I would probably prioritize the looking up where you're going to help her stand up straight.
Where should she be looking at for this maneuver?
She should be looking in front, and then when she wants to land, she should look where she wants to land.
At what point do you see her not looking where she needs to look? On the approach? On the takeoff? With the maneuver?
Right at the end. There's a trick in boxes and rails to look at the end of the feature, but then she doesn't spot her landing when she's ready to dismount.
Cool. I agree. So Matt, I like that. That's a great first thing to start is, hey, let's repair where you were looking. Okay, so Matt, I want you to remember that.
I have a quick question about this though.
Yeah.
I'm new to this. So she's when she's doing the maneuver, she shouldn't be looking at the end of the box.
She should be looking at the end of the box to start the maneuver. Once she gets on the feature, I want her looking and spotting her landing.
The whole time?
Yep. Once you're on the box,
okay,
stop looking at the box because you look where you'll go. You're going to be sliding. Let's look at your landing, where you're going to end up after that. Do we all agree? Do you agree, Charlotte?
I would say, yeah, like through most of the feature, I start to spot my landing. It might not be as soon as I land on it, but it's pretty soon afterwards.
And so does that affect your rotation, I guess?
No.
You wonder if her lack of separation is part of what's preventing her from being able to continue to spot the landing, since her shoulders are rotating in along with her feet, so she's not able to even do that as she's slipping out, and then I think mentally trying to focus on looking at her feet to stay in balance.
Exactly.
Brian, what do you think about that? Do you agree?
Yeah, that's the upper lower body separation. That's where it all goes south for.
Cool. Donald, of those four, timing, lack of appropriate upper and lower body separation, not looking where we're going, which might kind of be involved with that upper and lower body separation, and being overflexed at the hips. Which one of those would you tackle first, Don?
I would want to tackle the overflexion at the hips. He's looking through point to point. I think it's creating like a not a strong base in the approach there, and it looks like she's still flexed at the hips when she's trying to make the rotational move, which I think is preventing her from being able to fully separate there, and it's leading her to kind of land in the maneuver head heavy, which I think is leading to her starting to slip out that edge there. So I would want to focus on that, because I don't think any of the others could really be fully tweaked on without working on that one first. I think there's an element where it's preventing all of those from lining up.
Cool. I like your thinking, Donald. You can't have a takeoff if you don't have a good approach. You can't have a great maneuver if you don't have a great approach and takeoff. You can't have an awesome landing if you don't have the AT and the M. So, hey, let's start with alignment and then work up. I like your thinking with that one. And having, a methodical approach. And then Eliza, my dear, in your mind of those four, the improper timing, the lack of upper and lower body separation and or looking in the correct direction, and the overflexed at the hips, which I like the use of joint specific or body part specific thinking. Of those, which in your opinion do you think you'd categorize as numero uno that you'd repair?
Well, I hope I can remember all of those. But
so the first one is timing.
I would say that
maneuver.
For me, I think it's the rotation. But
okay,
as I said, I'm new to the box stuff, so
that's totally cool. Specifically with the rotation, what do you mean? And kind of expand.
So if she had rotated her body before she got on the box, I can't remember what the pre-wind, and then had her body facing towards the end more, she would have done a better maneuver, and then jumping off the end. I'm not making any sense. I'm sorry.
No, Charlotte, you're working through it, and it's awesome.
Okay.
So let's just use this word: lack of upper and lower body separation.
Yes.
She is not fully winding the spring, which is her spine.
Yeah.
You can watch in her shoulders specifically. You see her arms moving more than her actual shoulders, which is why I like her jacket. You can kind of see that she's not winding up the spring at all. She's moving her shoulders and arms around. She's flailing a little bit. But let's get it right to here. Right here, she should be, don't do that, go back.
She didn't have any pre-wind.
Copy. Well, what I would like, instead of pre-wind, I would like her to be approaching the box with her shoulders pointing straight down the fall line, straight down the box. And then when she leaps into the air, using lower body, the spine and the lower body to actually move 90, land on the box, then hop off the box, and then let the board come back in alignment with her shoulders.
Okay.
Come on, start for me. No, don't die.
I like to think about it as how do you teach beginners to look behind them when they're in a toe slip? And how do you keep their hips with the board so that they can look over their shoulder without actually twisting the board and engaging it down the hill? That's kind of how I think of a frontside board slide, especially.
So, Eliza, I want you to remember yours, you want to increase her upper and lower body separation. I don't care how, so the appropriate one is I want your shoulders pointing down the box or pointing down the fall line. But what we're looking for you is lack of upper and lower body separation. So That's yours to think about. So we'll go back to Matt. Matt, do you remember what yours was? Matthew. Okay.
Either works, I don't care. I wanted her to look more where she was going to help keep her body aligned with her board and like her back not bending over, basically.
So what drill or what little tool might you use to help her with this?
Giving her some more tangible object to look at besides a spot on the snow.
Cool. So take me through, baby, a drill that you might like to use with this person. You could use outside of the park.
Not sure on drills to help look at things.
Okay. Do you mind one that I might have in mind, and you can kind of think about that as well?
Sure.
So what I would do is I'd, use either a line drawn in the snow, perhaps a bamboo stick, and I would have her ride either next to it or on the line in the snow. And I'd have her ollie on and ollie off that line of snow with looking in the proper direction, using that line in the snow or that piece of bamboo stick as a box or a feature. Anybody else, either Brian or Don or anybody, have maybe something like that you can help someone look with head positioning and where to look on a feature?
So I have a ballerina daughter, and they do a lot of twirls. And so I think I'm going to pick her brain about how they do that. That'll help me.
She'll be good with the flat spin 360s, though. I can guarantee you that. Awesome sauce. Okay.
I would think also possibly have them extend their front arm out in the direction of the fall line, the path they're taking in the feature, and keep looking along that while they work on the maneuver.
Awesome. So keeping those shoulders in line with the direction of travel and also thinking about our head placement. That's a great thing. What's a static drill you could do for that, Don? Or maybe a simple drill, something simple.
Oh,
You're
Don's
muted
on
again.
mute.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No worries, dude.
Have them stand, just stand on the board and keep their head with the shoulder and have them like keep it along with the board and then feel the turn, like have them turn back and forth while looking at the point.
Charlotte, do you have maybe a quick little drill you could work with someone that, is very simple, kind of a task to help them with looking and alignment of the shoulders?
Yeah, kind of. It speaks to both Eliza's upper and lower body separation and looking where you're going and just going into that toe side, like that toe slip or anything on the toe edge, and then learning to look with maybe just your head and shoulders or just your head, but keeping your hips with your snowboard, and just kind of showing the difference between when we let our hips go with our shoulders versus when we leave our hips with our snowboard.
Cool. And that kind of leads into who had lack of upper and lower body separation?
That was Eliza.
Okay. So does anyone know a drill or a tip you could use to work with someone to increase that range of motion, which What is that range of motion if you were to give me a word for it? We've got toe to heel, we've got nose to tail, we've got flexion extension, and then we've got rotation or pivot. Oh wait, I just gave it away.
Rotation.
Yeah. Okay. What kind of things could you do with somebody to increase that upper and lower body separation?
I think you could do like static drills just on the snow, like moving, like keeping your body still and maybe moving your lower body, your upper body still and moving your lower body. And then you could actually do the board slides just on snow instead of on the board, on the box.
Oh, heck yes. Have them do the move. Have them hop. Shoulders down the fall line. Here I go. Get low, get tall, extend. You can't see my lower body, but my legs are very perpendicular to my shoulders. I'm going to do it. I'm going to hop off the blocks now. Look at that. Perfect. Great static drill. Every kid will love you. Hey, we're going to go slide boxes, but we got to learn how to first. Boom. There's a board side. Let's slide. Oh, I'm badass. What could you do simply while moving? Has anyone here done the P word slips?
I was gonna say, what are they called when you like keep your shoulders in one line and then you just kind of back and forth? But that, yeah, they're pivot slips.
Pivot slips. You betcha. The best way to get people to separate upper and lower body on a snowboard. Charlotte, describe the pivot slip. How was one done? There's two different versions. There's what do they call it? The European style, and then there's ours.
I haven't done a pivot slip in a really long time, but from what I remember, you basically keep your head and shoulders down the fall line, and then you move back and forth between toe and heel slips while trying to keep your shoulders as quiet as possible.
Beautiful. Keeping your shoulders moving down the fall line while your lower body rotates and winds up the spring, which is your spine and hips, back to neutral again, and then go the other direction. That is probably the best way to really have someone start kind of pushing their range of motion of the pivot or the rotation.
You get a nice stretch too.
Oh yeah, that's a great stretch. Awesome. And then we had overflex to the hips. Who had that one? Donald. Okay. All of us, anybody here, what kind of outside in teaching prescription or drill could we do with our student to have them, not overflex at the hips, or maybe flex other joints to match the flexion of my hips, or finding that sweet spot in between?
Being mean and making them do squats.
Yeah. Come on now. This is an athletic sport. You should be able to do squats. Do you see squats with your face tapping the ground?
I did squats wrong for like 26 years of my life. So
how did you told me about this the other day. How do you do them correctly then?
I thought it was like getting into like a snowboard position, more of like a plie in ballet. So like feet like out to the side and knees like tracking over the toes instead of like sitting back into a chair and then pelvic thrusting up. Pretty embarrassed when I was told they were wrong.
What other things could we do? Basically, we need them to keep their upper body kind of straight or perpendicular to the slope or the tool or the box. Usually, in my opinion and several others, is when people are overflexed at the hips, they're underflexed at the knees and the ankle joint specifically. So having them really think about flexing the joints of the ankle and knees more, and then giving me less out of the upper body. What on snow kind of sliding trick could we do to work on that overflexion at the hips thing? Don, you're muted again, buddy, but I like it.
He unmuted and then muted. Don, you're a mess. We love it.
I love you, Don.
In a traverse on each edge, going through raising up and lowering down, because if they're breaking down, then that's going to totally affect whether they're going to be able to continue keeping the edge on the traverse.
I love it, Don. What would you focus on specifically on the heel side traverse? Maybe a joint or a set of muscles?
Ankle, and asking to keep the toes up, like focus on really keeping the toes up and head up.
The cankles. Well done. I love it. Everything stems from the ankles. I love it. Toe side. What could you focus on toe side, Charlotte?
Doing that like calf stretch where you stand on the edge of a stair and you like drop your heels below the stair.
What muscle group am I specifically working with there? Or what two? Yeah, two muscles, I should say.
I don't know the name of muscles, but like
You point to them.
these muscles right here that I sit on my foam roller and make really sad noises.
Yeah. So transversely, what's the other muscle that does the other side of that? Point to it. You've got two that control the ankle joint. Well, you have more, but the two main ones. Oh, sweet.
Calf.
Awesome. Yeah, the calf is a grouping of two different muscles, whereas the other one, the anterior tibialis, is the anterior and posterior, but they kind of work mostly the anterior is the one you're thinking of to actually pull your toes up. But yes, thank you. I like people who think about muscles as well as the joint specific.
I like making people, especially in beginner lessons, to think about stepping in dog poop in their house and then having to walk to the bathroom on their heels, which actually did happen to me last year on my anniversary. So I can confirm that it is an effective analogy.
Walking in dog poop. Okay.
And kids love hearing the word poop too, so that helps.
Awesome sauce. Let's move on. Actually, looking at the time frame, we've only got through two, but we got a lot out of it. I don't want to go too far over, so I'm going to quickly skip the ski one, and quickly let's just watch this snowboard last one. And we're just going to quickly roll through. I want people to shout things out. What do you think you categorize as an efficient movement for this person? And what would you think of as an inefficient movement for this person?
You know, you're not sharing the screen, right?
Well, I'm not. Yes, I am. I'm not. Number two. Well, then let's just cap it at 2. The whole point of this one is to categorize what we find we're asking our students to do. Can you guys see the slide now?
We see discussion.
Yeah, perfect. So the whole point is I want you guys to be able to categorize in your own minds what you find inefficient versus inefficient. I want you to be able to figure out, in your opinion, what would have the greatest impact on this student skiing or riding, and how could you put that in order of repair? This is the biggest thing I could see that would help them. This is the next biggest thing I could see them that would help them. This is the third, fourth, fifth, what have you. Putting them in an order of operations. You're going to find that if you find the biggest thing that you could fix, some of the others might just fall in line. What equipment that perhaps might be inadvertently affecting this rider or skier that you can remedy, whether it's a binding issue that you could fix on snow, Forward lean, of course, is my uber favorite thing to repair, as well as stance width and toe or heel overhang. And then what movement patterns can be adjusted in the allotted time that you have, as well as using the different tools of how we analyze MA. Tool up, head down, and core out. So that being said, I want you guys to think about that and think about your own lessons that you give. You know, a lot of us are, you know, 85% of all of our lessons are first-time lessons. I want you to think about that next time you're actively coaching a client. It's like, okay, I see good things, I see bad things. What do I think would be the first thing I want to repair? And then how can I build from there? And then giving them a prescription for repair that they don't have to do with you. They could do it by themselves. Like, hey man, I see you're not torsionally like twisting the board. Here, let's play with some flat spin 360s. This is kind of a cool trick. We do it to kind of play with riding in the park and other things and spinny. Everyone likes to spinny, but we're actively having them work on their, you know, twisting of the snowboard using front ankle flexion and such like that. So anyways, we'll end it here with just the two. Real quick, is there anything that you guys would like to see for next week's, you know, grueling night of spending an hour with me? I wouldn't ask anybody for that.
I do really like this type of training just because I know that like one thing I'd really like to improve upon as I had moved towards my 3 again is like that prescription based. Like I think I saw Sean Vetter break something down to like a boss in the Aussie Northwest group of a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, that's who I would like to be eventually. So I like breaking it down in this way. And then getting to see the video is really helpful too, because I feel like sometimes my brain doesn't register things as quickly if I can't watch it a million times.
Cool. So you'd like to see more video movement analysis with perhaps a framework for coming around to getting a prescription for repair, or a framework to organize your thoughts or organize your tasks.
Absolutely.
Okay. Perfect. We can do that all the time. Does anybody else have something that they'd like to see next week? Could be kid specific again. It could be old people specific. There are old people snowboarders and skiers out there. Actually, there's probably more old people skiers, but I digress. More senior specific, or even more into the adaptive realm, if that's something that interests anybody. I know we've got people going for their 2s and their 3s in this group, so I want to make sure that you get what you want. If you don't can't think of it right now, email me. Like, I'm always trying to find ideas to throw at you guys. I just mostly pull this up my arse. And then
all the best ones do.
More adaptive things.
What's that, Don?
I'd be kind of curious to get more adaptive training.
Okay. More adaptive stuff. Cool. I got a guy for that. Maybe I can get him on. And then lastly, how can I improve my experience? Yes, I suck at Zoom, and yes, I suck at PowerPoint. If there's something that I can do that would make this easier for you guys, how can I improve this experience? If you can't think of it right now, email me. Please feel free. Okay, I won't keep you guys any longer. I try to keep my best to keep it right on task. I'm actually very, very excited that we spent that much time on just 2 videos. Normally, I do these in person, usually at a bar or a winery, which is way more fun. And we spend 2 or more hours talking and actually being able to see our movements, and we can analyze it. So we're doing the best we can with what we have. So I really appreciate everyone who's here and is attending.
Yeah, I can't wait till we can have nice things again, like après 2-hour TED Talks.
Oh, God. That would be fun. Once again, I'm going to post this on the tube that is you, so you can pass this on to your fellow cohorts in crime. And like I said, if there's anything you can think of you want to ask or want me to present, please email me. I think all of you have my email at some point. Matt and Eliza, if you know where to find it, if you can't find it. Anyways, hey, thanks for hanging out. I will see you guys the next time.
Okay. Bye.
Thanks for coming on. I had a blast. Okay, R2, take her away.